Welcome to Only the Bare Facts, a bold voice of truth, integrity, and transparency in a chaotic world. This channel is your destination for unfiltered stories, real-life lessons, and unwavering commitment to the word of truth. Finding redemption in the light of God's truth, Bear's journey is a testament to resilience, death, redemption, and faith. Now a warrior for truth, Bear shares his mission to expose darkness, foster genuine connections, and inspire others to live with authenticity and courage. Remember, steel sharpens steel. Together we shine. Let's live as awakened warriors, living in our divine identity. Be part of the solution in this chaotic world.
Hey y'all, thanks for showing up for session 5 of Only the Bare Facts. You see the little ticker at the bottom? Make sure you try and subscribe, share, tell your friends about this. Help me get my podcast out. If you got any ideas of anything that you'd like me to put on the air, or people you'd like me to interview or talk to, or topics to discuss, don't be afraid at all to send me an email or reach out. You got my phone number. Check in, let me know what you think. I really do appreciate the support and help. Had a number of people that have been super supportive with this process so far. It's really an opportunity for me to get crap off my mind that I often have conversations with my captive audience of clients sitting in my chair every day, but this is an opportunity to get it out there. And I've really wanted to kind of direct this podcast towards something that's really meaningful for me and really important to me. So I'm going to tell you about that as we go along, but let's just start out with, wow, another week of absolute crazy pandemonium. Carbon tax Carney, Canada's own bank embezzler and the future Liberal Party leader, because nobody else is going to win probably. This guy's the most disgusting, narcissistic, pompous ass with a superiority complex human Canadian destroyer I've ever known. He was every bad idea that Trudeau came up economically with in the last 9 years. He's been that voice, his confidant for the entire time that he's been there. The guy's disgusting. He's criminal. He's an unbelievable human being that has absolutely no desire to run this country, no care about anybody that's in this country or what happens to us economically. And I mean, Pierre calls him carbon tax Carney because he definitely wants to keep that tax in and in fact actually increase it. So on that note, Chandra area, apparently he can't run anymore. I was going to say we should all join the Liberal Party. I think it's $20 or free or whatever it is, and we could literally nominate who we wanted to lead the party. We could have come up with him, but apparently he can't run anymore. So I'll read this to you. Ontario Member of Parliament Chandra Era, I probably said the name wrong, said that the Liberal Party informed him he's out of the running to be its next leader. He was announced as candidacy to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and then Sunday, apparently he was waiting for an official communication from the Liberal Party considering his next steps because they told him he can't run. Now, apparently, there's some ethical reason why he can't. I don't know, maybe it's because he really didn't want to learn French. He doesn't care about the French language. He just knows that Quebec wants what they want, and so he's going to give it to them. Sounds like every other Liberal leader. But anyway, so he's out of the running, so we can't do that. So that's not going to work out in our favor at all, which is really too bad, but that's just the way it goes. So what else is going on? Rebel News was at Davos last week, torturing BlackRock CEO Larry Fink. I don't know if you saw any video clip of that, but Ezra was in the guy's face asking him a bunch of questions. Media was there, cameras are on him the whole bit, and he's just dodging everything. He's, got his security detail elbowing the cameraman at every opportunity possible. And I get that. I understand that. However, just so you know, he's the head of BlackRock. Okay. BlackRock is about $11.5 trillion worth of assets in this world. They're involved in everything. And I'm sure you've seen the little pictures on Facebook and social media that describe what businesses and organizations they're attached to. It's everywhere. Okay. That corporation prefers war. They support war so that they can make billions of dollars on rebuilding countries that they've destroyed. And, I wonder how that's going to work with Trump pushing for peace. So speaking of Trump, he addressed Davos. So they put this big, huge screen on the wall, and Trump came on the screen and had said hello to everybody at Davos. And they were so happy to see him participating and hope that he would show up next year. And he spends the next, 15 minutes literally browbeating every single one of them on the stage, every leader, every person that was there. I mean, he literally is kicking ass all over the place, over top of these crazy globalist dictators. He even talked to the manager, CEO, whatever he was, of the American bank, demanding support for Americans. So apparently, Americans have a real hard time putting their investment money through the Bank of America. And he told them that right on the stage. And this guy's response was, hey, Jimmy Bob? Well, Jimmy Bob says to say hello. That was his retort to Trump. Next thing he's doing, I'm going to play that clip if I can find it here.
We think we can even far surpass that, actually far surpass it. But we do, one thing we're going to be demanding is we're going to be demanding respect from other nations. Canada, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. We're not going to have that anymore. We can't do it. I don't know if it's good for them. As you probably know, I say you can always become a state. And if you're a state, we won't have a deficit, we won't have to tariff you, et cetera, et cetera. But Canada has been very tough to deal with over the years, and it's not fair that we should have a $200 billion or $250 billion deficit. We don't need them to make our cars, and they make a lot of them. We don't need their...
I'm sure a lot of you have seen that video clip. It was, way out there in the media for a while, especially mainstream media, trying to get everybody all fired up and join the ranks of all the premiers of the provinces in Canada and have the tariff war with Donald Trump that Trudeau wants to instigate. But anyway, on another note, Trump was in California and getting rudely interrupted by the mayor, who was justifying the red tape delays of FEMA. All the fires in California, apparently the reservoir was empty, and the governor of California didn't really seem to be very concerned about it. And Trump actually went out there and sat in a meeting with firefighters, local people, civilians who've lost their homes, people who've, got complete destruction of everything that they owned, trying to work out the fact that there's too much delay, too much problems. And all these politicians are all justifying their incompetence. It reminds me of the City of Edmonton Council. It reminds me of our federal government. Same bullshit, different country. But whatever. So then Trump's out there and he's kicking ass. He sends a couple of planefuls of deported criminals to Colombia, and the Colombian president decides to tell Trump, we're not taking the planes. We're not going to let them land. I mean, my personal opinion would be, well, circle around a couple times, get close to the ground level, maybe even in the ocean, whatever, and just open the door and let them out. But apparently that's not a nice thing to do. So that was my suggestion. I mean, it would have worked as far as I'm concerned. But here's how he responded. Well, this is interesting. So what did he do? I'm going to have to read this because it's really small. So he was informed about the 2 repatriation flights that were stopped and were not allowed to land. What does he do? Immediately, emergency 25% tariffs instantly, right? All goods coming from Colombia within the week, and 25% raised more, so equal a 50% tariff right away. A travel ban, immediate visa revocation on all Colombian government officials. Like, you're done. You're out. Goodbye. You don't want to play my game. You don't want to work with me. You don't want to help us get rid of your criminals that you allowed to come into our country. Then here you go. Here's what happens. Well, apparently, Gustavo, within, I guess, from the golf hole tee box of number 3 to the hole of number 8, took him about that much time to go, oh, no, Mr. President. I'm really sorry. How about this? I'll send you my private airplane and we'll pick up all those bad guys and we'll bring them back here and we'll get that sorted out. Zuckerberg is freaking out now, and I mean, he's going to get rid of all the censoring of Facebook, and then he's going to pay Trump, I think, $25 million or $50 million because he's sorry that he edited him and censored him the entire last 4 years. I mean, what a dork. Everybody's freaking out because of Trump. I like it. Anyway, so Gustavo, he's all ready to say, I'm sorry. And then in the meantime, Xiomara Castro, so she's the Honduran president. By the way, her brother-in-law, Carlos Zelaya, took $525,000 from some guys that wanted to make a contribution to his campaign. Apparently, he didn't know that they were cartel guys. I mean, they're just normal people with $525,000 American dollars that they could just give to him because they wanted to help his campaign. Anyway, so Shiomara tells Trump, "Oh, you're doing terrible things. Are you even allowed to do that?" Maybe she should go ask Gestapo how that worked out and see what she might want to do about that. Blows my mind. In the meantime, Trump also suggested that Palestinians should maybe move to Jordan or Egypt so that they could at least finally have some peace and that the world could rebuild Gaza. Well, of course, everybody that's a left-wing woke up and got all freaked out about that, thinking, oh, Donald Trump just wants to build beachfront property for Israel. So, I mean, what's the problem with that? But anyway, I don't know what people think about, intimidating Donald Trump. I mean, the president of the United States has got a mandate. He's got everybody backing him. He's on a roll. He's going to bring some clarity and some truth to that nation that, of course, many other nations aren't having. Speaking of that, Turd Boy, Carney, and Ford, all of the premiers except Daniel Smith are going to engage in a turf war with Donald Trump. I mean, a tariff war. Why would you even consider doing that? I mean, you know what the man's capable of. You know what the nation is capable of. He's already told us that he doesn't need our stuff. Now maybe there's going to be some problems with that. And I mean, I got lots of oil guys that I know that are saying, okay, look, a lot of the heavy oil that we have goes down there. They got refineries that refine that so that they can send the fuel back to us to buy off of them. I'm not sure about that, but whatever. Anyway, they'd have to refit all that stuff. Hey, if the guy says he's going to drill, baby, drill, and he's going to get rid of any need for any oil from anywhere else, I guess he really doesn't care. And if he really doesn't care, then what kind of a fight are you going to get into, especially with an idiot like Trump? But I mean, that's another story. And speaking of Trump, I don't know if you know this, but speaking of Trudeau, sorry, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm going to post this up here because I think you should have a look at this. Those guys, the three in the bottom row, see that three in the bottom row? Well, they're all part of that organization. They're all part of the Soros crew. I mean, these people don't want to make any kind of concessions to Trump. They want to start a war with him. But whatever, that's another story. So, Daniel's got a solution. I mean, here's her point. I'll put this clip up here for you to have a look at.
On November 25th, President Trump publicly warned that he would impose tariffs on Canada unless we take action on critical border issues such as cracking down on fentanyl, other illegal drugs, and illegal immigration. And I've been clear from the beginning that we must take President Trump's statements on border security seriously and to take action immediately, rather than focusing on inflaming the issue with rhetoric around retaliation.
Retaliation. Like, what is this guy? What are those people in Ottawa thinking? So just so we can kind of get a handle on that. So we were given a deadline, right? February 1st. I'm going to post this up. This came from a guy named Paul Mitchell. It's again, small printing, hard to read, but we've been given till February 1st to get our act together on the border. And I mean, that's a big concern for Donald Trump. Whatever, it's what he's asking us to do. He's asking us to get our house in order. And there's nothing wrong with asking for that. And of course, the Liberals would literally sacrifice the economy and Canadian workers to make sure that they can run a political campaign against Donald Trump. So Trudeau and the premiers, especially Ford, I mean, that Doug Ford, I don't even know why his opinion even counts. But anyway, he's on a rampage now. He's going to call an election in Ontario so he can get a mandate from the people so he can be in on this turf war. Tariff war. I don't know why I call it turf war. I guess it is kind of a turf war, isn't it? So the Liberals are trying to divide Canada, just like they did during COVID. That's another story we'll talk about. And what's going to come from it? I mean, nothing of any great value, that's for sure. And it's just causing us to tear the country apart. And we really don't want to listen to any of those guys, like at all. And speaking of that, after 5 months and $2 million, that's right, $2 million, a 269-page study of the impact and the illegality of the unnameable virus. We won't say that because apparently some of the media channels will cut my show off if I say the word, you know what. Mandate in Alberta has finally surfaced. It was dropped last Friday. I know I'm a little bit behind the game on that one, but came out on a Friday. So what? No one would really see it until Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. And it tells us this, that Kenny and Henshaw had no actual right to do what they did to Alberta. None. Had no right. Okay. This is the summary. The government should immediately stop the use of the jab. A range of unintended consequences occurred Well, we know what that was. Ruin businesses, ruin people's lives, ruin kids' education. They're so socially misfit now. They all live on their cell phones and don't want to have a real job. Then they've also claimed that the lipid nanoparticles are toxic. Wow. And no evidence that the jab helped in any fact. And in fact, it had immediate injury and was rampant in the testings, and long-term side effects are still being carefully monitored. I mean, we need transparency. Lockdowns did nothing. No clear mandate for the disease. Other measures of prevention and treatment were not allowed. In fact, I know doctors who were prescribing a couple of things that were working and did work. In fact, some of the things that they were prescribing worked in third world countries where that's what they gave people when they got sick, but they weren't allowed to administer it because they literally were under threat of disciplinary action. They'd lose their license to practice medicine in Alberta. So, these other preventative measures were allowed in other areas, but of course not here. And all of us conspiracy theorists, we all knew that it was true. We all knew that stuff. Lots of people hated me because I spoke out really loud about this stupid jab and what it was doing to people, and that it was a biological weapon released in China, which, by the way, the CIA just this past week said, by the way, just in case you didn't know, it came out of a lab accidentally. Wow. Just amazing. They're so on top of shit, right? But that report that Danielle Smith got cost us $2 million to create. $2 million. Now, the other question I'd like to ask is, will Kenny and Hinshaw be held accountable for any of that? Will they? I mean, where are they right now? Well, we know Henshaw's hiding somewhere in the hovels of the British Columbia government, advising them on health issues or something like that. And then on that note, by the way, just a funny little point that I found out from some people. During the pandemic, Henshaw was being moved from her residence near the U of A to a secret location for security reasons. The ensuing move prompted her to tell her security they were moving stuff, okay, boxes, like 3,000 pounds worth of food, freeze-dried fruit, tons and tons of toilet paper. When they got moved to the new location, she said, "Oh, just take those silly masks off and come in and have pizza. Come in and have pizza. Just take those silly masks off." Okay, so we know where her brain was, and we paid her for that. And speaking of paid, I wonder where all the expropriated money went during this huge, massive pandemic that we all had to worry about, right? That we were all controlled by. And why don't you ask Paladin Security, the same company that Kenny hired to stop church members and their pastor from accessing the church. Meanwhile, not a single mosque was closed. What do you say to that? I'm going to add one more thing here. Have a look at this. Do you know who this guy is? Some guy named Jonathan Pednault. He's the new co-leader of the Green Party. This guy's really concerned now because we've got all kinds of things happening in the world that we should be worried about. Ay, ay, ay. And then what about this one? Where's this one? She's on Turboy's committee. I wonder why she's on the committee. Like, did she ask to be on the committee? Maybe the envelopes that she used to get snuck to her in the middle of the night during, private parties or connections or, dark back alleys that came from a select specific cultural group in Alberta. Maybe she ran out of the envelopes because she didn't have any more envelopes and they couldn't get that or whatever, however that worked out. What else have we got going on? Foreign Interference Commission today, that was a couple days ago, gives us a full report on the foreign interference in the last two Canadian elections, and apparently there was no foreign interference. What was her name? Apparently Marie-Josée Hogue, the previously a lawyer. She determined that there was nothing wrong. Everything was okay. There was nothing to worry about. There was nothing happening with our election. It was perfectly legit. Yeah, that's sure. I'm sure of it. Anyway, funny how they released that at a time when the promoted narrative is to make the Liberals look like they care about our country and they're defending our nation against the onslaught of President Trump as he pursues the truth. What a bunch of clowns in the circus. I don't know what to say about that. Once again, Danielle's trying to do the best she can, and hopefully she'll be able to do some stuff for us. I got a couple other articles that I want to show you that kind of popped up on my social media feed today, and this one's really good. I'm going to post it up here. I won't get into too much reading of it because, again, it's really small print and I got to lean into it. But Brandon Sun article from June 23rd, 1990 talks about, it was Douglas Christie, I think, that wrote it, national leader of the Western Canadian concept. He says in here that the premiers of the Western Canada had no mandate to surrender to Quebec. And he talks a little bit about how Canada's been manipulated and there really is no democracy here, and we really don't have a Charter of Rights, and we don't have any of that stuff in place, and we're just part of the Crown Corporation and we're subjects of the Crown Corporation. If you get a chance to have a look at this, check it out. I'll leave it up here for a little bit, so when you do find me on YouTube and you start watching this podcast, you can hit pause and check that out. I mean, it summarizes a lot of stuff, and it says a lot of things. There's another article, and I mean, this was just popped up, and this guy kind of talked about his theory of what's going to happen in Canada. So Carney's going to get voted in as the Liberal leader party. Now, he's never been elected to a position in our government. This guy's going to take control of the Liberal Party during the time period when Trudeau's going to do whatever he's going to do, run away or hopefully fade into the wind or do something. What that means is he'll be the leader of the Liberal Party. Thus, he will be the Prime Minister of Canada, never having served in any position in government or ever being elected. The theory is, or the talk is, that then he's going to call for an election in 2026 instead. He's going to call an economic emergency so that they can battle against Trump and the imposed tariffs. And then we'll get into that whole WEF digital ID stuff. All like, that's what this guy's saying. And I mean, Robert Iverak seems like a pretty intelligent dude. So again, another article worth reading. Pretty scary shit when you think about the fact that, really this is what this amounts to. The irony of equalization payments is literally, you can see we don't get anything out here, but we ship it all east. And us crazy Albertans, we all know that stuff. We all know about all that stuff. We've been living it for years and years and years. Some of us lived through the first Trudeau regime. We know what that's about. Now we're in the second Trudeau regime, and there's not a whole lot different. And I don't see if there's ever going to be any difference. But hey, let's get past all that crap now. Let's move on to some other stuff. And I want to just give you this quote. If we seek the truth and we live in our true divine identity, we can all rise above the disinformation and illusion of the propaganda we face every day. I talk about all this political crap to start with, and it's just stuff that's on our mind, but I really want us to understand and remember that we can live above this crap. We really can. This garbage is so depressing, and it's so much better to get up in the morning and take your dog for a walk in the sunlight. Watch the sun come up. Watch the incredible sunsets we've had in Alberta the last couple of nights. It's been spectacular. And those things are really a whole lot more important than all the other garbage that's going on. Yeah, stay aware, be intelligent enough to know what's going on and seek the truth. I mean, don't settle for what I might say, and don't settle for what you might read on social media, because wow, with AI now, they can get Donald Trump's son singing Christian songs. Like, that's crazy stuff. So you never know what's really truth until you research and dig deep and find that truth, and then listen to that inner voice, because it's going to tell you what the truth is. I'm really excited about some of the things that are coming up in my podcast. I got some neat episodes I'm working on. I've got some really cool people that I'm trying to hook up for some interviews. I told you about Raven 23 and Paul coming on the show. That's going to be a really neat one. And I really want to kind of head this towards just the more positive and the spiritual stuff that brings us peace in our lives and the fun things we can all experience. So I'm lining up some of those guests to talk about some stuff. And one of those people that I haven't told him yet. I know he's going to watch this and he hasn't seen it yet, but his name is Don Keithley. A friend and brother in Christ turned me onto this guy back in October of 23. And I found such an incredible amount of awakening through much of what he says. He's a really cool guy. He's got some really awesome stuff to say. If you want to check him out, like I said, his name's Don Keithley. You should check him out. He's on YouTube. And another thing that might be worth looking at would be the Mirror Bible that was written by Francois de Toit. Incredible translation, really cool layout. There's some information that's available there that's just spiritually enlightening. If you get a chance to check it out, please do. In the meantime, Stay well, stay safe, stay happy. Thank you very much for watching my podcast. And, like it, subscribe to it, tell all your friends about it, see what you can do to help me out to promote it. And thanks again for showing up for tonight. I really appreciate it. And I hope to get this around everywhere else. See you again soon.